Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next interview on BuiltHow. In our environment of the world today, we all know that probably next year we're going to see an increase in notice of defaults and people who are in trouble who need your help and advice. That's why we thought this would be a terrific session. We want to interview someone who is an expert at working with this segment of the market. So I'd like to introduce you to Robert Barksdale, and I want to read you just a bit about his credentials. First of all, he is an experienced realtor at Realty One Group. He has over 20 years in the real estate business and 13 years in the foreclosure notice of default space. He actually is an investor, a trainer. He's specialized quite intensely in foreclosure and pre-foreclosure properties. And over the years, he's trained hundreds of agents on how to work this segment of the market and also how to acquire these properties. And he graciously agreed to share a few of his secrets with us today. And Robert's in Southern California. He actually covers a really huge territory because he goes where that business is. So Robert, maybe we could just start off with anything else that they might need to know about your bio or background that I neglected. And actually, let's also be sure we give them your information on how to contact you too, just in case I forget to do that at the end.
Okay, definitely. Well, as you mentioned, I've been working in real estate for 20 years. I work as a realtor, but also as an investor. And one of the areas I specialize in, as you mentioned, are in homeowners that are facing a notice of default or actually a notice of trustee sale. I try to work with the homeowners to help them save their equity and sell their homes before they lose it to the bank. And that oftentimes involves working not only with the homeowner, but also with the bank, as well as the trustee who's actually conducting the foreclosure. So, I find it a necessary way and to help homeowners. And I also enjoy helping them not lose their homes because many homeowners, when they're in foreclosure, don't know what to do. They feel stuck. They may be out of work. So I try to come in and help them sell their home before they lose it at auction.
Are you starting to see a surge in notice of defaults?
Definitely. A lot of notices of default. The homeowners have been lucky to get a forbearance where they get the auction date pushed back. We're seeing a lot of foreclosures because a lot of homeowners across the country, not just Southern California, are out of work. So what I'm trying to do is help these homeowners before they actually get an auction date. But definitely with the amount of people out of work, they're not paying their mortgages. So we're seeing an uptick in a number of notices of default across Southern California.
Yeah, and if they ever get behind and now they haven't been making a payment and things are not going good, just the thought of how do I get the money to make that payment? So I would think, or at least I would wonder, if most of them are not short sales. Do most of them have equity? Because of course the markets have been so strong across the country for appreciation.
Exactly. I would say most of the foreclosures do have some sort of equity because of the way the market has been going the last couple of years. Even with equity, these homeowners don't know what to do. You'd be surprised how many homeowners have a home that's worth $600,000 and they only owe, say, $350,000, and they do nothing and lose it to the bank. So yeah, there are a large number of homes that have equity. Some of them are short sales, but also, there's homeowners that have equity as well.
Okay. And, I've coached many people over the years that worked this segment of the market and obviously, have the pleasure of working with you. And there are some tips to it. I guess I would say I've noticed that certain things are effective in reaching these homeowners. Other things are just really a waste of time and money. So maybe you could give them a few tips on how do they find them? How do they approach them in a way that doesn't seem, I don't know, I guess you might say like slimy, you
Okay.
know?
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's several websites that are really good about helping you find homeowners that are in foreclosure. There's Foreclosure Radar Research, County Records Research, Retran.net, as well as Revo Gateway. I found Retran.net to be one of the better search engines. I search all 6 Southern California counties from Ventura all the way to San Diego County. And then I'll call the homeowners or, actually go and knock on the door and say, hi, my name is Robert. I'm a realtor. I specialize in helping homeowners that are facing foreclosure. I'd like to help you stop the foreclosure on your home, because ultimately that's what the homeowner wants to do. They want to stop the
Right.
foreclosure. And you're able to help a lot of homeowners once they know you're not there to take advantage of them, because most of them are getting contacted by multiple people, whether it's attorneys that want them to file bankruptcy, or other realtors, or these investors that don't have a license. They're just knocking on their door.
Sure.
So you really have to show them that you stand out from the crowd. You're really there just to help them. And that's, and usually that works in terms of the approach, that you want to help them stop the foreclosure on their home.
And so ratios, I guess my mind went to, I remember someone I coached for a number of years. He told me, if I go out and I door knock for 3 hours, and of course you're zigzagging geographically, so you kind of have to lay out your grid. He said, if I can talk to 3 homeowners, usually ultimately one of them will end up being a listing. Does that seem logical? Like, what are you noticing the ratios are for you?
I would say probably similar to that. Sometimes you'll go out and talk to 4 or 5 people and get 2 homeowners that will allow you to help them. Other times you'll talk to 7 or 8 and you might get 1. So I definitely would say if you talk to 5 people, you'll get usually 1 or 2 deals, because ultimately they have to end up selling the home. Because other than selling the home, a lot of homeowners will file bankruptcy, or they'll do nothing and lose the home. But homeowners that, you could show them, hey, you have equity, you don't have a job, but you have equity in your home, your best recourse would be to sell the home and take advantage of the $200,000, $300,000 in equity. So I would say those numbers seem pretty accurate. And the trick is catching the people at home. Sometimes the people are home in the evenings. Sometimes they're out of work, or they work a swing shift, or a spouse is home, so you can catch them in the morning. So it's really about being persistent. You have to go out regularly. And I probably door knock 4 days a week trying to, contact homeowners.
Yeah, I know you're right, because right now it could be a whole different schedule or routine. I think typically in the past, what I noticed is it would be evening before dark, Saturday morning, Sunday afternoon, that those might be some of the best times. Do you leave something behind if they don't answer the door?
Definitely. I always leave one of my postcards that tells the homeowner the various ways I can help them. So I leave that. And also, a lot of times I'll leave a personalized note. I found that stands out too with the homeowner. You leave them a note, you leave them your information in addition to a business card or postcard, because then they know you took the time, that you really are there to help them. It gives it a more personal feeling. So I
Yeah.
always leave something when I go.
So is there a difference between, let's say that notice of default has just been filed? Are they likely to get in action right away, or do you tend to notice that you have to continue to follow up because it might be not until the last moment when all hope is lost and they say, I've just got to bail and sell the property? What do you see in terms of that?
I see people tend to be a little more ready to move forward once they have an auction date. But some homeowners, as soon as they get that notice of default, especially if they've never been in foreclosure before, they tend to get nervous and they're ready to do something right on the spot. So you have those homeowners. You also, unfortunately, have homeowners that have been in foreclosure multiple times, because a lot of these people tend to not be very disciplined in terms of their income versus expenses. So they won't do something until they get an auction date. So I would say it works both ways. Some people are ready to do, to move to action when they get a notice of default. Others, they wait until a week before the auction, unfortunately. And so then we have to work at a crazy pace in order to help them before the home goes to auction. So I would say both ways work.
Yeah, that's where it gets tricky, right? Where the experience comes in when you're down to the wire and you're having to communicate with the bank and do everything you can to
Exactly.
get that deal together. And I think there's something that you do where often agents will come to you and say, I've come across this notice of default opportunity. But it's a mess. I don't know what to do with it. It's almost going to sale. Here you go. And you're willing to partner with agents, right, in the Southern California market that have a situation like that.
Definitely. So one of the things that happens, unfortunately, with these homeowners is a lot of times they wait, as you mentioned, until a week before the auction. And I've had, many agents over the years bring the deal to me. What's key at that time is you have to contact the bank. Usually it's going to be the foreclosure department, loss mitigation department. There's somebody handling that at the bank, as well as the trustee. And so the key is contacting the bank, the trustee, letting them know you have a buyer for their home. They'll usually want to see three things. They'll want to see a purchase contract, an estimated HUD from escrow, as well as a proof of funds. If you have a buyer for that home, the banks are likely to give you an extension because ultimately they want to get their money. They don't want to foreclose. So if you have a buyer, specifically if you have a cash buyer, banks are willing oftentimes to give you an extension in order to close escrow. But those three things are key: purchase contract, estimated HUD, as well as a proof of funds from a buyer. And a lot of times the banks will give you an extension. You can turn around and sell the home. Everybody, comes out a winner. It ends up being a win-win situation.
Yeah, and I think in some cases, if it's not someone that's just a financial disaster, but they have a legitimate reason this all occurred, that an investor might even let them stay in the property as the renter, right?
Definitely.
And because, they're not going to trash the house, it is in their mind, in a way, still their house. So let's talk about investors, because I think one of the things I believe you do is you've got a group of investors. They have funds ready. You already know them. You can quickly call and say, I've got a deal for you. Are you interested? Can you step in with the cash, right? So if someone's going to work notice of defaults, they probably need to have something like that, right, in the back end.
Definitely. Yeah, having a cash investor, and actually there's a lot of investors that reach out, not just to myself, but to a lot of realtors because they're ready to buy properties. They just aren't able to always go and actually talk to the homeowners and acquire the properties. So I would say to anyone looking to work foreclosures, get a group of investors ready that they know can close in 3 to 5 days, because many times that's all you have.
Right.
So I have several investors. They literally just want to see that the title is clear.
Okay.
Or if the title isn't clear, that we're going to pay for everything on title through escrow, and they'll close in 3 days. I've worked with them for most of them for probably 5 or 6 years, and so that's key. And oftentimes when I'm going to meet with the homeowner, I'll alert them, hey, here's this property, here's the address, look it up. What do you think you'd be willing to pay for this home? So when I go talk to the homeowner, I already have an investor that's ready to go, because we don't have 3 or 4 days to go see the property. We have to move forward usually that day.
Okay. And a couple of things, like I know what agents might be thinking as they're watching this. Well, what does he say in his postcard? So what are a couple of things that you mention in your postcard?
Definitely. I tell the homeowners, I'd like to help them in various ways. One of the ways we'll help them is we will help them stop the foreclosure and sell the home. Another way we'll help them is we will give them cash for their home and allow them to stay there after they sold their home, and help them find a property. Another thing that we offer on a postcard is if you have to move after you sell, we will find you a replacement property in order so that you're not displaced. So I just let them know that we're here to help. We're not here to take advantage of them. We also, another thing on the postcard is that I will offer them our distressed homeowners guide that tells the homeowner things they should do when they're in foreclosure in order to come out in a positive light. So that's also on the postcard as well.
Okay, good. And then if you are able to help them and they're able to stay in the home, then what's the benefit to you? I guess I would think add them to your database, nurture
Yes,
them over
definitely.
time.
A lot of the homeowners, some of them will sell their home and then they become a renter. And then once they get back on their feet, I add them to my database once we close the escrow, and then I'll help them find a property once they get their income and credit together, because ultimately they do want to be a homeowner. Some of the people end up being renters for years, and that's okay as well. But if they are going to stay in the home, I will eventually help them find a property, a replacement property that they can purchase once they get back on their feet. Because for many of the homeowners, it's just a hiccup. It's not, a constant thing that they're in foreclosure. They just have lost a job, got laid off, they have too much debt. So, I try to, there's so many ways you can help the homeowners. Every deal is specific, but, those are a couple of the ways I help them.
Well, you also have, in our last minute or two, a very interesting model that if anyone is in the market in Southern California and would love to be, I guess I might say, a participant in this, you actually have agents that are all different companies, all across California that like to work this, but what they like to do is they just like to go door knock on your behalf, take that packet, get that lead, hand it to you, and then they go hunt the next one. And I thought that was a brilliant model. So how do you compensate them?
Okay. So what I do is I completely split the deal with them 50-50. I also show them what I do with homeowners that are in foreclosure. So I have agents that door knock in Los Angeles County, San Bernardino County, Orange County. And if they bring a deal to me, what I'll do is I'll start to finish, I'll show them this is what we're going to do. We have to work with the bank. We have to work with the homeowner. We have to find out how much they owe. Are there multiple loans and liens? And then I'll show them how I find the right buyer for that property. And I actually work the deal, but I explain to them what I'm doing, so it frees them up to go out and get other deals by door knocking on leads. But I also explain to them, and over the course of 2 or 3 deals, that helps them become somewhat experts in working with foreclosures, because it is different. The homeowners don't want to sell. You also have to work with the bank as well as the trustee, in addition to working with escrow and title. So I do show them how I work the foreclosure, but they bring them to me. I work the deal start to finish, train them, and eventually they become, experts in working with homeowners and foreclosures. And that's great, because then there's more people that get help, because I can't get to everybody. There's so many homeowners in foreclosure. I don't mind training them on how to work with these homeowners.
Well, and I think that the spirit of that shines through in the interview, but also probably at the door and in the conversations, that you really are passionate about doing a great job with this. And that's exactly why I know you're going to be the $1 million man, right? That's
Right.
the goal,
This
right?
year, definitely.
$1 million in 2021 in earnings. And yet, and I haven't heard anything in what you said that put the commission first, right? Which
Right.
Again is an awesome, place to come from. And I know you'll have amazing success. So again, if they'd like to figure out, hey, how can I work on a deal, with Robert, and, maybe I'd love to go out and do the door knocking or just ask him a question, go ahead, if you wouldn't mind, one more time. We'll give them your contact info before we sign off and let you
Definitely.
go to work.
Okay. Well, Robert Barksdale, work at Realty One Group in Corona. My phone number is area code 949-627-1550. And I can also be reached by email. My email is Rob Barksdale, ROBBARKSDALE @gmail.com. I would love to work with any agents that are looking to partner up and work the foreclosure market in Southern California. Thank you.
Awesome. And of course, our forward coaching members, you can easily connect with Robert on our private Facebook group as well. Well, Robert, thank you. Good luck today. We really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I think this is the gift that we'll keep on giving in the new year as they watch the replay and get all these great tips. So have a great day. And thank you, everyone. And we'll look forward to seeing you in our next session. All right. Bye-bye.